Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. This is my first video in about a month. I started a new job a little over a month ago and it consumed a lot of my time, so I didn't really have much time for this. But with that being said, I'm kind of behind on a lot of albums. I think like 4 or 5 maybe have come out since my last video. So I've got a lot of catching up to do. But this first video back is going to be about Together Pangea's new album, Eat Myself. Together Pangea is a California rock band. They're from LA. They mainly do like garage, punk, and sort of like a little bit of surf rock. They released their first album back in 2010, and this is their 6th album, not counting like deluxe albums or anything like that. I found this band by looking at the fans also like section on Spotify of another artist I like that's sort of in like the same genre as these guys. I just wanted to include that little part because people always talk about how, there's no good music anymore these days and everything, and I think that's just because they're not looking hard enough, and if you just do a little bit of digging, you can find something that you might really like. But back to the album, it was released about mid-January of this year. And it's a pretty concise album. It's 13 tracks and about 38 minutes long. I like the album cover, but it does kind of remind me of something I made working with like watercolors in 3rd grade. But it's this like painting of like a woman's face with different like colors behind it. And it looks like something almost like a child Picasso would have made, I guess. Prior to the album coming out, they released like 6 of the 13 songs, which seems like a lot and makes me think you'd want to leave a little bit more mystery for when the album actually comes out. But I did really enjoy those singles and they got me pretty excited for the album, so I guess either way. Getting into the first track on the album, the title track, Eat Myself. Now, this is a track that wastes no time getting right to the point. The way it starts off is immediately high energy and intense. And you notice that it has this heavier grunge sound that they're working with, as opposed to their more usual like garage rock, punk sort of sound. This track is intense instrumentals and is very fast paced. And it also features a resonant guitar that sounds like an alarm or like a siren. Along with this driving bass line that is just so satisfying. Then we go into the next track titled Home, which continues with the same grunge sound that kicked off the album. This has pulsing, fast-paced instrumentals. It's layered and very chaotic, and overall it's just a really raw and emotive track. This gets us into the next song titled Like Your Father. This is probably one of my favorite songs on the album, and it's one of my son's favorite songs. He's only 2 years old, and he has been singing this song pretty much any chance he gets. It's a melancholic track. Well, I don't know if like melancholic is the right word, but it's a track about like reluctantly accepting that you're getting older. Like it doesn't necessarily feel sad, but it doesn't feel like a happy song. It gives you this weird, just like what could have been feeling, I guess, if that makes sense. This track strays away from the grunge sound that we've been hearing so far, and goes for a more alternative rock or indie rock sound, but it does have a really catchy chorus. The next track is titled Halloween, and this is the first of 2 features on the album with a band called The Red Pears. They're another California rock band. Now, despite the title of the song and it being released about a week before Halloween, it's not a spooky track and it doesn't really have anything to do with Halloween at all. It's more of an alternative rock song with like elements of surf rock, and it has pretty funny lyrics with the chorus talking about, I wish this sadness was anger instead, I'd be a poet and already dead. Next, we're getting into the track called Deep End, which is quite different from what we've been hearing on this album, with everything so far being pretty high energy, and this one sort of being a slow-paced and somber track. It has the second and final feature on the album with a fellow California artist called Badlands. She's a multi-instrumentalist and uses some pretty cool instruments when making her music, so I definitely recommend you go check her out. There's a piano and like keyboard segment on this song that sounds very simple and almost sort of sounds childish, like not to the point of making it sound like a lullaby. I don't know if I'd go that far, but it does make it sound like something you'd maybe hear in like a kid's movie. Really only when the piano part is playing though. Other than that, the rest sounds kind of fine. It's just like a mellow track. But I do think that other songs on this album do a better job at capturing that more somber mood that they're going for. Next is the track Hollywood Trash, which is a like anthemic rock song and pretty uplifting, with the chorus being like a celebration of not only becoming but also staying sober. The slow pacing of the track, along with like the uplifting mood, creates like a sort of sense of regret for the past, which overall creates this sort of I regret that it happened, but I'm proud of myself that I overcame it type feeling. And this song ends with a pretty cool jam sesh that I really like. And that takes us into the next track titled Purple. This track has driving and full-bodied instrumentals as the bass is very prominent. And it goes really well with the lingering vocals from the lead vocalist William Keegan. Next is the track Sunken, which is very raw, loud, and aggressive. Even though it's been a common theme on this album with the grunge sound we've been hearing, this track probably leans much more into it than the rest have. And this is one of the more heavy tracks on the album in general. And the riff and the bass line on this track really give you like early 2000s vibes. Next is the track Empty Church, and this one has pretty clear inspiration from probably Nirvana or Soundgarden. It's slow-paced and melancholy, and it has these really cool guitar segments after each chorus. Then we pick up the pace with the next track titled Shattered, which is a very explosive and high-energy track. I love the melody on this track, and it's got a great opening line with "Right now, I bet you thought that I was dead." Now, these next two tracks begin to incorporate shoegaze elements into the grunge sound and the garage rock sound that we've been hearing on this album so far. This song has very fuzzy guitars with heavily layered effects, and the lyrics apparently came from a stream of consciousness that the lead singer William Keegan was doing. The next track is called Molly Said, and it has these very fuzzy and distorted guitars that help contribute to this wall of sound on the song, along with the very erratic and unique drumming that stands out to me. And this track has a contrasting dynamic with the fairly calm and quiet verses against the loud and explosive chorus. And finally, we get into the final track on the album called Burn the Hillsides. This song sort of drops the heavier grunge rock sound that we've been hearing and instead goes for a more synth pop sound. And this is a sound I don't think they've really ever explored in their music, so it's pretty nice to hear something completely brand new on this album. It's very mellow and slow-paced, and I think it makes for a great closing track on the album. But overall, I think this was a great album. There's really only one song that I wasn't too big on. Still not really sure how I feel about it. But other than that, I really enjoyed the rest of the songs. I think it had great production and it flowed really nicely. But that's all I've got for this video. Thanks for sticking around. Go listen to the new album and see you next time.